Hey guys, how's it going? Big Ducks here. So this is going to be a video just about my reaction that I had on Twitch earlier today about the manifesto that they put out. Now, keep in mind a lot of this is really going to be negative, but honestly, I don't really feel bad about that. I think that GGG really needs to take some criticism here to heart because we've been getting the same problems over and over and over again. I go pretty in depth in my actual reaction to it, so take a look, and if you like what you saw, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. All right, so let's talk about this. So what do we got here? This is the development manifesto that GGG has put out in response to all of the insane negative feedback that they've gotten about the Delirium League. And honestly, a lot of it's kind of warranted. There are so many problems with this league that it's just like, it's either one, they are just choosing to do this, or two, they don't realize that they're doing it. Neither of them are good outcomes. Like, neither of them are good reasons, excuses, whatever you want to call them. Both of them have problems, but I guess we're gonna see what they're gonna tell us. So let's see here. Thanks so much for your valuable feedback since launch. Yeah. In this manifesto, we'd like to summarize the changes that we plan to make in the near future. Note that these are still in early discussion and haven't been implemented, tested yet. Yeah, it's whatever. For speed, we'll likely apply these types of changes in patches as soon as they're ready rather than delaying them. That's good. I'm glad that they're not going to take the Blizzard route of being like, oh, well, let's just update like once every 6 months, and besides that, we can't do it. Sorry, boys. Delirium monster damage. As you travel deeper into the mist, the life damage and rewards for monsters become higher. Yeah, players have commented that they feel like the monsters become too dangerous deep in the encounters. I mean, they do. The monster damage bonus scales up to 30% increased at absolute most. I just feel like that's either that's a lie or I don't know. Let's keep going. We are reviewing all of the Delirium monsters and skills to find any that are overtuned, and we'll be making adjustments to any that might be dealing disproportionate damage. Okay, so the problem here specifically with this is that I don't actually think that the damage of specifically the Delirium mobs is the problem, right? I think that the damage of all of the mobs in the game is the problem, because the game is designed right now to just avoid the one-shot. Every monster can one-shot you. The issue here is that the way that the game is kind of scaled in recent times has just been, well, just kill the monsters before they kill you. And in Delirium, the main mechanic of Delirium is the fact that the monster's health just scales almost infinitely, right? So when you get super deep into these Deliriums and the monsters aren't killable anymore and they just are tanky and they last for long periods of time, you get into this situation where the game isn't made to be played like that. So what ends up happening is that you start noticing, oh yeah, shit's actually super f***ing dangerous. And I can't just like sit here and face tank everything because it actually one-shots me. This is something that is like, it's just kind of a gameplay decision, and I mean, I sort of get what they're trying to do, but the problem here is that when you scale these monsters up so heavily and you give them all of these crazy mechanics that slow you down or kill you after they die, I mean, do we really need more on-death effects? When you have monsters that are designed to be able to one-shot you constantly, and the only way to fight against that is to one-shot them back, and then you prevent us from being able to one-shot them, I think there's a problem there, right? I mean, even 30% increased damage is a lot for monsters that already one-shot you. So, I don't know, this feels like they don't actually, they're either being dishonest here or they just are completely tone deaf. All right, let's keep going. Hopefully there's better stuff in here. Rewards bar. When you touch the Mirror of Delirium, a random reward type is chosen for the encounter. Yeah, when you kill a certain number of monsters, you earn an additional instance of that reward type. Yep, we know this. Currently, the rate at which the reward bar fills up is not proportional to the depth of the monsters you are fighting. Yeah, I kind of figured that out when I started realizing that, like, if you do the old League mechanics, like, say if you go into a Delirium, right, you enter the Mirror, and you find a Legion Stone, you do that Legion Stone, you get like 6 or 7 items just from clearing the Legion Stone, as comparison to pushing through the entire map, you might get the same amount. So I kind of already knew that. Monsters deeper in the mist do not fill it up faster. Yes, I was pretty aware of that. We felt this was appropriate for release because the other rewards that the leagues grant, Cluster Jewels, Delirium Orb, Splinters, whatever, it doesn't matter, do all encourage you to kill as many monsters as possible, which promise clearing as deep as you can. No, it doesn't. What this encourages is that you push as far as you can and then you just cancel the mechanic and not actually deal with it because it's just too difficult. It's much better to just move to the next map and keep going instead of dealing with monsters that you can't kill. It doesn't do that at all, so I don't know what the hell they think they're talking about. We were considering having the reward bar fill up more quickly as you kill monsters deeper, but didn't have the change ready in time for launch. We plan to make this change in the near future. We felt this was appropriate for release because the other rewards that the League grants, blah, 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 do encourage you to kill as many So what is it, GGG? Which one is it? You said you felt this was appropriate, but then you said we were considering we plan to make this change in the near future. But didn't have the change ready in time for launch? Okay, well, whatever. You just don't know what you're talking about then? Great. Time this publishing, we found an issue where in many areas delirium monsters and spawners do not appear when extremely deep in the mist. I noticed that. Paralyzing, wasting, eroding, diluting touch debuffs. This is stupid. I hate it. We are reducing the length of these debuffs so that they are substantially shorter. Yeah, these debuffs currently, I guess the patch is already out at this point that's already done this because it says this change is likely to be in today's patch. I think it's already out, but these debuffs were lasting 12 seconds each. 12 seconds for every single one, and they can stack up to 10. The one that was the worst here that I noticed was, I think it's called the paralyzing one. It literally just like lowers your action speed by 10% and it stacks up to 10. And there's nothing that you can do to stop it save being a juggernaut or having Comb's roots on. This is just completely tone deaf. I was complaining about this day one. If you guys were watching the stream, you probably heard me complaining about this. I was like, dude, this action speed slow is stupid. I didn't even notice the rest of these because the rest of them didn't affect my build, but other people were saying any regen builds were like completely destroyed and RF was just not a thing. I feel like GGG just wants to kill streamers and the rest of us get dunked on in the crossfire. Absolutely. That is one of the major problems with gearing your game towards the very hardcore players. There's lots of positives, but there are a few negatives that come along with that. This is one of them. So this is good. Hopefully this is shorter. They are down to 6 seconds max. I still don't feel like that's short enough. Those debuffs shouldn't be lasting 6 seconds. Okay, whatever. Well, those are terrible. They should be like 2-second debuffs at most. Like, why are they so much longer than other debuffs in the game? I can't think of very many debuffs that last more than like 2 or 3 seconds. Monster on death effects. Currently, there's a random chance for individual delirium monsters to have mods that cause on-death effects. Are you kidding me? That's how it is? It's just a random chance for all of the delirium monsters to do it. Are you actually kidding me? No, that's like, that's legitimately unacceptable. That's ridiculous. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they specifically asked Neon in the Bay class thing when they were talking with him. They asked him if the on-death effects were going to be, you know, hey, we've already seen a couple on-death effects. Are these going to be toned down? And he said, yeah, it's going to be, you're going to be able to play around it. This is bullshit. This right here, random chance for individual delirium mobs to have mods that cause on-death effects. Are you kidding me? Not only can you not really see them, so I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but what will happen is that like there's this one on-death effect that shoots this like thing up into the sky, right? It's like black and white and it gets shot up into the sky and it's just the perfect height so that if you move up on the screen a little bit, it's like right in front of your vision and you literally can't see anything. I don't understand, right? Like how are they literally not testing this? Is one of the head devs just like it? I don't want to blame any specific person for this, but I feel like these kinds of things can't just be overlooked. Like, haha, oh, we didn't realize, sorry. Like, that can't be a thing. It has to be intentional at this point. Because if it's not intentional, these people don't know what they're doing, and it's honestly really, really not okay. But let's move on. We're internally experimenting with moving these to be pack-based. Oh, you mean like you had to learn for every... Did they not learn from any of the mistakes of previous leagues? Like, did they literally not learn from any of their mistakes? They already went through this almost like 5 years ago when they originally made those on-death pack effects. They already learned this. Why are... So that there's more variance in when you... Yeah, sure, whatever. Rebalancing them around this, improving how they are signaled. Yeah, dude. Surprise, surprise, if you make on-death effects that can just one-shot you, you need to be able to see them. Like, I feel that the current state of the bearer effect, you know, when you kill random mobs and there's like those blue, red, and whatever explosions that can happen, those look fine now. The iterations that they've made to those look fine. GGG never learns. Look how long it took them to get volatile. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't understand. They've already went through these problems before. Why are they repeating the same mistakes? Okay, let's keep going. For those interested in why we use I'm interested in why you use on-death effects like this. It's because they're a viable way of making monsters that are killed instantly have an effect on players, and they aren't trivialized by clear speed. Few to no other mods we can put on these monsters make any difference normally because they are eradicated by powerful builds in seconds. What? Who made this post? Is this Bex? Bex, I really hope this was a line that was fed to you because this is just stupid. This is not actually true at all. This is actually the opposite of true. I really hope that someone else wrote this because this just straight up is a lie. So, for anybody that's wondering what I'm talking about, it says, it's because they're a viable way of making monsters that are killed instantly have an effect on players, and they aren't trivialized by clear speed. Literally, the only builds that are doing okay right now with these death effects are the ones that have insane clear speed. And do you know why? Because you go in, you clear the entire screen instantly, and by the time that those on-death effects happen, you are 2 screens away. We've learned this already. Anyone that's done deep delving, anyone that's played this game at a high level for like any amount of time, should know that the best way to deal with on-death effects is to just be off of the screen when it happens. The builds that this hurts are the builds that are slower and the builds that are just like mid-level or mediocre amounts of speed, right? The people who are just trying to do other stuff, that is the builds that on-death effect hurts. It's the builds that can't move fast. So this is just a straight up lie. We're going to be toning these down either way. Okay, cool. But like this actually kind of upsets me. This line right here, this like genuinely upsets me. Okay. Delirium alongside previous content. Delirium increases the difficulty and reward of all Path of Exile content. Yeah, it's cool. However, players have reported that it doesn't feel worthwhile to run past content under the effects of Delirium because you lose precious time dealing with that content's overheads. Yeah, I agree. We plan to add bonus time to the Delirium event when you trigger past content in order to make up for this. The amount of bonus time will vary from content to content. How was this not obvious? Like, I noticed this instantly upon the very first time that I ran through a zone and I got to Alva and I tried to do one of her things. It was like, wow, why is there not extra time for me to do this? It was literally the first thought in my head. It was in their it was in their video. Like, it was literally the first thought in my head because I went into the thing and by the time I finished it, the fog was past me. So then it's like, well, I just don't want to do this because what if there's something better afterwards? It's really starting to get upsetting, and it just feels like this is either one of a few problems, right? So it's either they're not learning from their mistakes, they're purposefully just doing this because they think it's the only way to kill high-end players and that's what they care about, or just kill players in general. The third thing is that they don't actually realize that this is a problem. None of those outcomes end up being like, okay, yeah, so this will be good. The amount of bonus time will vary from content to content. That would be really nice. Also, they need to make it so that, honestly, what I would do, right, is that figure out an average amount of time that it takes for each individual thing. Like a Legion Stone, add like 5 seconds, right? You don't need to add that much for a Legion Stone, maybe 10 seconds. Whatever the duration of the initial Legion thing is, right? Like 15, 20 seconds maybe? Much more for an incursion, as in increase it like the whole duration of an incursion plus like 5 seconds. All of that. Bosses, they really need, like, it pisses me off, right? Because there's so many bosses that have like phases that you just can't do anything about. Like the Brine King, for example, he literally has like almost a solid minute of just run around and dodge stuff and you can't actually fight him. I haven't actually gotten to kill the Brine King with the fog on a single time yet in maps. What I don't get is why do they care so much about killing you or Ziz or Mathel? Like, look at Dark Souls. That game is geared to be hard but not impossible for most players. The thing about the problem with it is that it's almost like it's a design philosophy at this point, right? I seem to think that they don't understand that they need to gear content incrementally for players, right? Like, I would be more than fine if well, okay, let me retract my statement. I need to add a little bit more to that. Previously, most people didn't make it to endgame content. Most people did not make it to maps, right? And that was fine. Maps, just in general, from low tier to high tier, were considered endgame high-level content that only the most hardcore players even did. The vast majority of people did not do maps. Nowadays, more people are starting to learn the game and it's starting to get more popular, and many, many more people are doing maps, right? What they really need to start just accepting is that high-end content should be like tier 10 maps and beyond. If I was in like tier 15s and getting absolutely just destroyed by Delirium mobs, perfect. That's awesome. I would love that. But the fact that I get into tier 4s and 5s and I'm trying to push through the mechanic and the mobs are literally unkillable, I can sit there for 20 seconds attacking them and they don't take any damage. And I'm in a tier 5 map. And then I can get out of the Delirium and literally kill a unique boss in that map in under 1 second. Why is it that I can't kill a white mob in 20 to 30 seconds of constantly DPSing, but then when the Delirium is off, I can actually kill the boss of that zone in under 1 second with no problems whatsoever? That amount of scaling is ridiculous. That would be fine in like tier 15s, right? Sure, that would be fine, right? Get more gear, you're at the very end of the game, I understand that. But tier 5s, I have like 200k DPS at tier 1 and it was harder than it, exactly, right? Like I jumped into like a tier 9 map and it's much, much easier to kill random mobs in like a tier 9, tier 10 map right now than it is to kill mobs at the end of a tier 1 Delirium. Like at the end of the tier 1 Delirium, they're like 5 times harder than a tier 10 map. That's ridiculous. All right, let's keep going. I'm not very happy with this, to be honest with you. Almost nothing in here has made me feel good. They've just said a couple of things, but then their reasoning is actually triggering me. Delirium item drop vacuuming, this won't happen. We totally understand the feedback that Delirium wants to make you go fast and not pick up items, requiring you then to backtrack to grab anything decent that drops. Yeah, whatever. There have been requests to accumulate all items that would drop and instead drop them at the end of the encounter. That's just not going to happen. This is not how we want the game to be played. We have only done it in the past when it would have been impossible to access the items afterwards. If they're in an incursion area or the darkness during a delve, that's acceptable. While it's attempting to take every opportunity to vacuum up all the items that drop and present them to you in one go, that is not how the core game loop of action RPG should function. In addition, even if we wanted to, it's not really even practical to vacuum an entire map worth of items and drop them in one place. During our internal testing before release, we increased the length of time that Delirium encounters last so that players have extra time to pick up items as they go. Item filters help alert you to which items are important to grab, and we did intentionally compensate with extra time for you to do so. Just use item filters, bro. Hey dude, use this third-party thing. Okay, they need to hire an item filter, dude. Okay, this... Just... What, you don't have item filters, Exile? Dude, this entire manifesto is upsetting me, and nothing has made me happy about anything that they've said in here. This is ridiculous. Item filters help alert you to which items are important to grab. Okay, if you're going to tell me that I need an item filter to play your game, you need to hire someone to make a base item filter. It is unacceptable that you tell me that I need a third-party tool to be able to play your game properly without you actually hiring someone. Dude, the NeverSync dev team has been spending countless hours working on this shit. Just hire them, GGG. They make a awesome filter, they do an awesome job, and they're great. Just literally, just hire them. There's 3 people. Just hire them or buy their thing and just pay them to make it. I don't care. Contract them, whatever. Just make it they already did that in the Xbox version. Just officially hire them and put it on the PC version. Look what happened to OpenRL. Well, the thing is that they need to contract them specifically to do that. I don't want them to hire to make like the, well, okay, never mind. What if the base filter was just how NeverSync has it? Like, that would be cool. I thought they already had a loot filter. What is the default one? The default one is nothing. The default loot filter in the Xbox version, they allow you to use the basic NeverSync one, but the default loot filter is just nothing. But yeah, the consoles have the base NeverSync loot filter, which is interesting that it's just consoles, right? Like, the NeverSync loot filter is so good just by itself. If you're gonna post links, post them in the Discord. But the base item filter by NeverSync is so good just by itself that the very base version of it should just be included in the game at this point. It doesn't make any sense. The other thing that kind of upsets me here, okay, so Delirium item drop vacuuming, right? There have been requests to accumulate all items that would drop. Well, why are you just telling me that, yeah, well, obviously we can't drop all items in this zone. We'll just take the stuff from Delirium and drop it. Like, that's all that people care about. Just take the cluster jewels, the splinters, and that's it, right? the cluster jewels, the splinters, and the delirium orbs, and drop those at the end of the delirium mechanic like before. That's all you have to do. The rest of the stuff we can pick up like a normal map, right? But I see these splinters and I feel compelled to go back and get them every time, and it's just like, well, I don't want them to do currency in general because that's going towards against what they want as a game, but like just the delirium stuff at least makes sense. Depth meter. Because the distance from the start of the encounter matters quite a lot for both the relative difficulty of the monsters, chance that additional monsters respawn, and the level of increase. Yeah. We're considering adding an indicator. Oh, really? Yeah, that should have just been a base thing that came with it. I don't even want to talk about that. Performance. It looks like we broke something in 3.10. Yeah, you did. My computer should be able to handle this. We don't know what it is yet, but we're investigating and we'll fix it. This is a high priority and we're really sorry that it released like that. Okay, that's acceptable. I get it. I know how coding, I know how like this whole environment works. Shit like that happens. I understand. We were unaware of the issue from our internal testing, but quickly became aware of it upon launch. Annoyingly, it affects some computers/users a lot more than others, as does everything. We now have a couple of computers in the office that reliably reproduce it. Okay, cool. Visibility. This is all, okay. I haven't even read this yet. I haven't read this. This is all that they have to say about visibility is just like 2 sentences? This is just 2 sentences for this. That's all that we get about visibility? Okay, let's read it. We have various ideas to improve visibility, such as investigating improving color grading, really, adding clearer effects to monsters with mods, improving skill effects, and so on. We don't know exactly which set of these experiments will be deployed yet, but we do want to make it easier to see what's going on. Expect to see some improvements soon. So, the problem I have with that, let's talk a little bit about performance. For anyone that's wondering, the issue has to do with when Conquerors and Deliriums happen at the same time. Everything else is fine. I don't have issues with performance otherwise, but the major issue is when you get a Conquer influence map plus Delirium going at the same time, and it just completely chugs your game. But this visibility post is this part right here. The most upsetting thing about this is that the way that this is worded makes it seem like they weren't aware that this was an issue. That's the worst part of this. If they were aware and it's just like they were intending to do it, I would have been 10 times happier if they just told me, oh, that's what we intended, just get wrecked, dude, get good. I would have appreciated that 100 times more than this crap that just makes it seem like they weren't aware that it was a problem. How many times has this been an issue for you, GGG? How many times have people said, why is everything the same color? Why is everything gray, or everything green, or everything red? Can we, like, there are colors that go with gray. Purples and pinks and reds all work with gray. Greens and blues work with gray. I mean, like, sure, there are colors that don't, like yellows and oranges and stuff like that you can't really see very well, but there's bright-ass colors that work with the concept of this delirium thing. I mean, why does it all need to be gray, white, and black? Just use more colors. Just use more colors. It's just upsetting, right? We have various ideas to improve visibility, such as investigating improved color. Really? Investigating improving color grading. I really don't want to continue because it honestly kind of, it really upsets me because this is not something that you should be investigating now. I for the longest time, I genuinely thought that this was just a decision that they were making, and I can accept that, right? I can accept a decision to make things visually, like, difficult to see as a way to make it harder. But when you tell me, oh, well, we just weren't aware that this was a problem, well, we've been talking about it for literally years. Make the end Delirium button bindable. I'm surprised that wasn't in the game to begin with. Summary, TLDR. All right, here we go. Monster damage, nerfing on a case-by-case basis, adjusting on-death effects, yep. Rewards, monsters deeper in the missile count more, yep. On-hit debuffs, substantially reduced duration, yep. Investigating pact-based mods instead of individuals, balance to be in line with this. Improving telegraphing, yep. Past content in Delirium, yep. Item drop vacuuming, I didn't expect that to happen. Depth meter, investigating a way to do this. That doesn't seem that hard. Performance, we already know. Visibility, yes, we're working on improving this. Ridiculous, yes. Oh, I'm really not happy. This manifesto has honestly just made me more upset than anything. And the problem is that there are so many people who are going to be like, oh, thank you for communicating with us again, GGG. Thank you for telling us that you're working on this stuff. And while I appreciate the fact that they are telling us that they're working on this stuff, it's obvious that there's some kind of flaw here, right? it's very, very obvious that there's some kind of flaw. Like, okay, yeah, it's even worse than synthesis. Like, synthesis was really cool. Synthesis conceptually was amazing, but the implementation had some flaws that they probably weren't aware of were going to be a problem, and it's more realistic to understand how they could mess it up. This is just like, from the very get-go, I'm just like, huh, why isn't it like this? That doesn't make any sense. Like, the thing, I saw a post that somebody said, right? I saw a post that someone said that was like, why is the base Delirium mechanic not the way that the orbs work, where just the zone has a thing that you can trigger and there's no time limit and it just puts a small amount of Delirium on the entire zone and you just kill things as you want, right? Make it so that you can enable it and then you just kill things as you want to, right? Like walk through the mirror and then it's just a base thing that happens, right? And then the Delirium orbs remove all of the monsters from the map, make them just Delirium monsters, and then gives you a time limit on the actual Delirium orbs themselves as a way like, all right, I'm a well-defined build that can clear fast and move fast, and I want a map that's just going to be me just going as fast and as deep and as possible as I can, right? Put the orb on it, remove all other monsters from it, similar to how a blighted map works, make it only Delirium mobs, and then just have it be just a clear fest all the way to the end, and then just do that only on the orbs, right? If you want a time limit, put it on the orbs, but why on the major portion of the map? And yeah, the thing that also upsets me is that, like, they said specifically, oh, well, we want to slow down the game, so we're going to make it so that there's a time limit that makes you pressured into running as fast as you possibly can through the entire zone. It's like, dude, this is just an amalgamation of everything that GGG has ever done wrong. They've done it wrong all over again here.